Alright, so this year being a very specially disrupted year, I'm going to go through the local storage contacts assignment and show you how I would build it. When I'm done here, I'm not going to give you the code, but I'm going to show you how I build everything. And at the end of that, I'd like you to try and build this. And we've changed this assignment into a self-marking assignment. So I want you to look at the rubric with the assignment, go through and you check for yourself to see what you were able to get working. Your submission is going to be the URL for what you did and what you think you deserve for the assignment. So mark yourself to see what you were able to accomplish. Alright, so with the assignment there is a CodePen and it has the starting HTML and CSS. So there's the web page, a title bar, a contacts list, a little fab that you can click on. Currently it doesn't do anything, but I'm going to show you the finished version and I'm going to show you how I built it. So here we have a finished working version. I took the HTML, I took the CSS, I added a little bit of HTML for a form because we want to be able to add new contacts to this list. So if I click on the fab, it brings up this simple form. I click cancel to make it go away, or I can click on add and enter something in here, like, well, who was not in this list here? Okay, so we'll add Leah Organa Skywalker, just for fun, and princess at rebellion.org. And we'll add in a phone number. There we go. Save contact. There we go. It's added this person into the list. And she has been added into local storage here as well. So if I refresh my page, she's still in there. If I delete Kylo and I refresh the page, it's the same list. And this has been updated. If we delete the top one here, Han Solo, you can see it disappeared from local storage. So how do we achieve this? How do we do this? Well, I created two JavaScript files, an HTML file and a CSS file. The second JavaScript file is just the sample data. I copied and pasted from the assignment just to have something in there to begin with. I'm checking to see if local storage has anything. If it doesn't, I'm putting this inside of there. In my HTML, the body I copied and pasted from CodePen, and then I added two things. An overlay div, and that is when I click the fab, this dark overlay in behind the form. And then the form itself, that is the other part that I added. So I have an overlay and I've got a contact form, and then the CSS for these two things I've added here at the bottom. Inside the CSS, the overlay, I added a little bit here at the bottom. For the contact form, I added a couple of default properties here. I made sure that the z-index here was lower than the z-index here. And then I put in some styles for the inputs and the buttons that were in the form. So that is the only CSS that I've added from what I brought from CodePen. Now for the JavaScript. Working with local storage, I hope you've watched the local storage video. If not, I'll put a link in the comments to that, or in a little card on the page. So we've got a key, and this is what we're using for local storage. In the browser here, you can see key. There's the key, and this is my value. So I'm taking all this data, I'm converting it into a string, and I'm saving it as one single value for this key. And then contacts, this is my array. Now I start with that default one, but then this is becoming the one point of contact. This is the place that I'm editing. And every time I make a change to this, I just replace whatever was in local storage with the new value here. So DOM content loaded calls my init function. My init function, I'm looking to see if the thing with this key does not exist in local storage. If it doesn't exist, I'm getting my starter from the other page and I'm putting it into this global variable contacts. I'm stringifying it and then I am setting local storage set item with this key. This is the stringified value. And this right here, this is all it takes. Anytime that you want to put something into local storage, it's just this set item command, and then you have to make sure that this value here, if it's an object, it must be stringified. So we could actually put this all in one line. I could take this and replace that. Skip the variable entirely. There we go. That's going to do the exact same thing. If I do have something in local storage, then I'm going to get item from local storage. Whatever item has that key. And I'm parsing it. That means taking it from the string and turning it back into an object. And I'm replacing what's in my global variable with whatever came out of local storage. Next, I'm calling update list. This is my function which is going to delete everything that's inside the UL, the unordered list, and replace it with my new contacts. I'm adding a click listener on the fab. This is the floating action bar. It's an Android term for the little round red button at the bottom. And I'm adding listeners for the two buttons inside my form. One for cancel, one for save. Now, update list. Let's take a look at that one. For update list, I find my UL on the page with the class contacts. That is this one right here inside the main. It's the one that contains all these list items. So these are my contacts. And you can see, got a class contact, the span has a class delete, there's an H3, and then two paragraphs with the classes email and phone. Back inside here, find my UL, set its inner HTML to nothing, so I clear it out. I'm creating a document fragment, and I'm going to put all of the list items inside of here. Once I have all of those in this document fragment, I'll put the document fragment into the UL. I have a video on document fragments. I will put that link in the bottom as well. Now I'm calling append child on the document fragment, and inside here, this is the brand new list item. What I did was, instead of putting a whole bunch of code in here, I wanted to keep this simple. I'm just looping through. Create item, right here is this function, and I'm passing the contact from my for each loop down into here. So what does this do? This is generating this piece of HTML right here. I just copied and pasted this just so I'd have it as a reference when I built this. So I create a list item, a span, an H3, and two paragraphs. The paragraphs have the classes email and phone. The list item has the class contact. The span has the class delete. No CSS class on the H3. And then we put the text inside the H3, we put the text inside the email, we put the text inside the phone using text content, text content, text content. I have to add a click listener onto the span. It's going to call the function remove contact. And then, just to make it easier to remove things from my contacts array, I decided I was going to keep the email address inside of the span, inside of a data attribute. So data key, and then I'm doing something like this. This wasn't in the original HTML. This is something that I'm doing. So I need a way of targeting which one. Now, somebody clicks on the span, I can say, okay, fine. From the span, go to the next sibling, go to the next sibling. Does it have the class email? Read the text that's inside of it. Or go to the next sibling, read the text that's inside of it. Emails and phone numbers, those things are going to be unique. The names, I can't be guaranteed that they're going to be unique, but the emails and phone numbers should be. So instead of having to crawl up and down through the DOM to find the right things, I'm just duplicating. And I'm putting the data right here inside of this so that I can go back later and retrieve it. When the person clicks on the delete, I'm going to call the function remove contact, which is down here. I will get the attribute data key. That's my email address. Then I want to loop through the array contacts and remove any item that has a matching email address. That's the way the filter function works when you loop through an array. Inside this method, there is a function, and if this function returns true, you keep the item. If it returns false, you get rid of the item. And then the new version of the array is being put back into, it could be a new variable or the same one. So I'm replacing the old version of contacts with the filtered version of contacts. Again, I have another video about filter. I'll put the link in the comments. So with filter, we're checking to see if the email from the data key matches the one that's inside the contact that I'm looking at. If contact email equals email, that's the one I want to remove, so I flip it. Instead of this being true, it becomes false, because the one that I want to remove should be marked as false. I'm looping through, and I'm only removing the one that does match. Now I've got a brand new copy of contacts. I stringify it and stick it back into local storage, and then I call my update method to refresh what's shown on the screen. The update list function was the one up here where we looped through contacts and created a contact for each one after we cleared it all out. So we're getting a lot of reuse out of our functions here, so we don't have to duplicate our code. Now, the other part of this is to add new contacts, and that is the fab. When we click it, we go show form. Okay, I clicked on the fab. It's going to hide the main and the fab, setting the opacity to 0. It's going to show the overlay, and it's going to show the contact form. Hide form just does the reverse of that. So these things just mirror each other. When you click on save or cancel, that's going to call one of these two functions. Cancel is just going to call hide form. Doesn't have to do anything else. Add contact, right here. This is the one that actually has to look at the form. So we're creating a new variable. This is going to be a new object that's going to hold our new name, email, and phone number. I will get the input name, input email, input phone. Those are the IDs. If we look back in the HTML, here's my form. There are the 3 IDs. These are the input fields. I want to get their values. So we get their values and we trim them to remove any extra space at the beginning or at the end. And then I'm checking to make sure that none of them are empty. As long as they're not empty strings, they'll all be equal to true. They'll be truthy values. So if these 3 things, then my variable object is going to be equal to an object with 3 properties called full name, email, and phone, and they'll have the values full name, email, and phone. This is just a shortcut for writing That's something new in ES6, that you can just list the 3 properties, and then it will create properties with the same name and take the variable with the same name and extract its value. So this, the short version, is just doing that. We take that and we add it to our contacts array, because this is the new person that's been added. Now we can stringify the contacts. So the new version of contacts with the new person added in, we stringify it, and we replace the old version where that key matches. Then I'm calling the reset method on the form element. This is how you quickly clear out a form. And actually, that's something we should probably do up here in our hide form as well. So if somebody's hiding the form because they clicked the cancel button, we should also clear out the form for them there as well. So I'm calling hide form, and here's a little trick for you. When you're calling a function that's expecting to have an event, because you're doing EV prevent default, you can create a brand new imaginary mouse click event, and then this gets passed up here into this event object, so you can call prevent default. It's not actually attached to anything, it's just an object. You're creating an object and you're passing it to the function so that this does not cause an error. And once again, after we've added our contact, we call update list, which loops through the updated version of contacts and displays everything. And there we are. That is all of the code. That is the entire thing. So Please have a shot at it and take the code from CodePen to get yourself started. Feel free to watch this video as many times as you want. If you want to pause and copy and type, that's fine. But please go through the process of creating this and then mark yourself to see how well you did. If you're looking for a little bit more challenge, if you went through this really quickly, like this took me about 15-20 minutes to write all this code. If you get through it really quickly and you're looking for a challenge, try adding a feature like always having the list sorted. So when you're running your update list function, do a sort. Do a sort on the contacts array, or do a sort on the contacts array when you add or remove somebody. Probably makes the most sense to sort it inside the update list function, but give that a shot. All right, good luck.